Do you have a lot of scraps? Let's turn those scraps into art. Welcome back, friends. So as you can see, I have a lot of scraps. Some of these are full sheets, but I have a lot of scraps, and I keep them in a box for a later date because I know I don't want to forget about them. And I have some favorite ones in this pile. I did put this pile together because I thought a lot of these colors really went well together. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take all of these scraps, some of the big sheets we're going to cut down. We're going to try to make a fabulous collage. So today I'm going to be working on an 11 by 14 canvas. It's not like a deep profile one. It's just about a ½ inch thick, deep. And I am going to use a T-square to mark off some areas. I'm just going to make some vertical and horizontal lines. Try to get I'm thinking in terms of, thirds, our composition. We like the rule of 3, right? So I'm going to just mark off 3 columns and then do some wide bands, some small bands, and then we'll see how our papers fit. We're not going to be too precise. We're going to let the papers speak to us and decide where things should go, and I want to get in the flow and just see where the papers take me. Let's see. I'm not planning anything yet. I did pick some papers that I like, and I like the way they look together. That paper I did, that comb looking paper, is the one that I've been trying to use. I really love that paper, so I'm kind of put it aside because I really want to use it in this. And I'm looking at my yellows, how do these yellows look together? Should they all be in this collage, or maybe not? Maybe the more golden yellow ones really don't go with these other almost greenish yellows. So I do really love this paper, so I think I'm going to start with that one. And then we're going to, like I said, we're just going to go with the flow and see where it takes us. And most of these papers are on newsprint. So once again, I think newsprint is great if you're a beginner and you are really looking to get a good print and you don't want to spend a lot of money. But once you get a little bit more serious and maybe you want to sell your work, you might not want to use newsprint because it's not acid free. But I don't know, after we seal it and everything, it might be okay anyway. But this is an 11 by 14 on a ½ inch panel. This is not a serious work of art. I don't expect this to still be around 100 years from now. But so for those of you who really care about whether something's acid free, don't use newsprint. What I would suggest you use is a good rice paper, and there are so many really nice rice papers out there. So that's what I would do. Anyway, this is a color shaper, but I am using it to lay down my gloss gel medium. I like to use Liquitex. Now I did thin this one out, and I think I thinned it out a little too much because I was having trouble with it. It was I usually don't have trouble with this, but I think I thinned it just a little bit too much. So after the second paper and struggling with it, I added a little bit more to make it a little thicker. But if you do use gel medium, you know how sometimes after a while they do start to get too thick. So you have to add a little bit of water, but I added too much. So I also like this paper. It has sort of the same color values in it and everything. I don't know, it's very similar in the shade, although the pattern is very different. It's more of a almost like a brayer sheet. It's more grunge. The other one has some rubber band patterns in it. But anyway, they look good together, so I'm going to use this one in that lower corner, lower left-hand corner. I'm just like squaring it off a little bit, trying to figure out approximately how big, and I need to make sure I have enough to go around the side. I'm going to wrap all the papers around the edge. So I do have a catalyst wedge over on the side, but the nice thing about the color shaper is it is a silicone wedge in itself. So you're not only applying the gel medium, but now you're spreading it out and smoothing out the paper as well. So I'm kind of doing the corners like a gift package. And wrapping all the way around to the back when I can. So I mentioned that I have a box that I keep my scraps in, but truth of the matter is I have more than one box. These particular papers were in a separate box that I really was putting aside because I liked the way they looked together. And so they've been sitting in that box since I moved, and this is the first opportunity I had to actually work with them. I especially love this brayer sheet. It has all of the colors that I was working with in that session, and I just think a strip of this would be really nice. You know, you can't get better grunge. I'm using my mat to line up and at least try to get a good, straight, even panel, because I'm just going for a strip. I do like my other mat better. This one I didn't notice didn't have like the 1/2 inch marks. It has them on the end, but not in the middle. Like all of those squares should have also 1/2 inch marks. So I'm very upset. This is not a mat I would recommend. I will probably be replacing it soon. So I want to do like maybe some 1/2 inch, some 1/4 inch, maybe even an 1/8 of an inch strips, but I'm not sure yet. So I'm just cutting some to see how they look. Hopefully my head's not going to be in the way too often, but I have to lean over to really see if I'm getting things lined up properly. So one of the things I love about this grungy brayer sheet is the shifts in color, and I like how it's introducing that, I think it's quinacridone red. So I cut another strip. I'm going to overlap them there in the middle because none of them are long enough to go across the entire panel, but you won't even notice it once it's glued down. It's going to just all blend. I want to make sure I'm really butting up against that other paper. Now some of these papers are not going to go all the way around the side, but I'm going to finish off the sides probably with a little bit more papers. So you may be seeing there my yellow papers are looking a little like they're bubbling up, and that was because my gel medium was way too thin. So I thickened it up a little bit, and I shouldn't have any problems. Now I will say it dried flat, so it wasn't anything to really worry about, but I still prefer a creamier consistency when I'm working with the gel medium. And so what I'm thinking is this band that's going across should have a skinnier one just below it. And I like the idea of maybe introducing teal. And even though I have sorted these papers, I went into my box and got this paper. I wasn't planning on using it. It is on a deli paper, I think. It was used as a cleanup sheet in between layers when I was working on the large poster size jelly plate. And I just kept layering on top of these deli papers and loved the color combinations that came out of it. Even that little bit of purple that I'm getting on this strip. So you can mix different kinds of papers, just because it doesn't, like just because I started with newsprint doesn't mean that I have to stick with newsprint. I think most of the papers that I'm using are newsprint. There's also a Tyvek paper I'm going to use, and then there's some other deli papers that I am going to use. So again, I took a little piece of purple on the end and I'm matching it up there so it looks seamless, and then I'm going to wrap around the teal. And that's the other thing that I love about gel prints, is they really are forgiving when you're like, patching them up, if should you need to patch them. So this comb-like paper I am definitely using. I'm just not sure how or where. And so now I'm just playing with positions and different kinds of maybe colors or shapes or just the size of strips. And I love these two papers. And they even have a little bit of that yellow color in there. So they go, and I love the line that I got in there. That was from the session that I did with the Tyvek papers. So I'm thinking I want to introduce yellow up there, but I'm still not sure. So I'm just like, moving colors around, just trying to get the right combination. So the only thing I can say about, like, how do you know when it's the right combination, or how do you know when it's, when it's correct? Is there such a thing as correct? What you do and what I do are going to be totally different. Who's to say one is right and one is wrong, right? But when you put something together and you like the way it looks, trust your instincts. This is supposed to be an intuitive process, so just trust those instincts and just go for it. Now, if you're not sure, then don't put any glue on it yet. Like, give it a minute. Maybe you'll find something else. Like, I almost discarded this one because it wasn't tall enough, but then I thought I could always stick another piece of paper up there. So I just love the way that paper, with its dusty blues and grays and that tiny little bit of yellow, looks with these other papers. It's just perfect. And I love the organic shapes that it has in it as well. So the other thing that I'm noticing, I don't know if it's because it's a thinner canvas, but I was having trouble getting these papers to wrap around the edges. They didn't want to stay. They kept popping up. But normally I don't have that problem when I have the deeper profile painting canvases. So I do have that area up there that I was thinking of putting, patching it and everything, but I'm going to try a couple of other things first. So we're just going to try to introduce teal somewhere else. So this is a slow process sometimes. You just have to keep playing around until it feels right. So that's not feeling right so far. But I am loving this paper. So now I'm trying to figure out, how do I want to use this paper? And do I want it to have white showing through? So I decide to pull the box out again. But maybe there's some other papers that I missed. And that one's definitely wrong for this project. Love that brayer sheet though. Wow. Some of that one strip right there might be good. Also, these might be good. So I'm thinking, okay, how did I miss these papers? Again, the yellow is wrong color. Wrong color. But I love that sheet right there. Hopefully I'm going to use that. That also this particular scrap I saved off my table and said, oh my god, I gotta save that, because those little stripes in the middle really excited me. I can't remember when I used that paper before, but this is a scrap and I just love it. So I decide that that's really what needs to go up here. And the colors are very similar to the thinner band that's going across towards the bottom. And a lot of times it is the scraps. You are cropping a paper for another project, and those accidental scraps are, you know, like perfect compositions in themselves. So even that little piece that I just cut off, I will still save that, because that might be the finishing touch for another piece, or maybe even this one a little bit later. So I keep going back to this one because I definitely want to use it. And I wasn't sure if I wanted that dark line that's going across to be at the very edge of the canvas, or did I want it to be somewhere in the middle? So I wasn't really sure. I was thinking of maybe first putting down a yellow paper and then putting this paper over the other paper. And, you know, so I was trying out a couple, or I was just looking at papers to see, does something need to go under this? And then I decided I'm just going to get some Indian yellow, do a messy application, and let it dry, of course. So I'm not doing it perfectly. I'm leaving some white. And I'm just going to let that dry, and then we will overlay that Payne's Gray deli paper. So another thing I like about this paper is it has a shape from one of my stencils on it. So I'm thinking that could go over there on the side. And in the paper itself, it's blocked, it's color blocked. So it's taking our whole color blocking thing, you know, a step further. So then I decided I wanted some black and white. And so I'm just going to put a little piece of this deli paper that goes completely transparent. And I'm just going to slip it in a little narrow rectangle. I'm going to put that in first. Now our yellow is still drying. I didn't forget about the other deli paper. So this deli paper was, I just took a brush and I painted some black paint on it. I didn't, that was not done on a gel plate. And sometimes I like to do that. So it's not looking like much yet, but trust me, it's going to work out. So I want to make sure that I get that. Oh, sorry, my head's in the way. I want to get that in the right spot, lined up with the other papers at the top. And I'm also trying to decide, do I want the dark area to be next to the black and white, or flipped around? And I don't know why I thought this was better. But for some reason, at that moment, I was liking the dark next to the dark. When I look back at it now, I'm like, why did I do that? But again, like I said, are there any like perfect answers? I don't have enough paper to go around the side, but we'll fix that later. But you know, is it okay? I think it's okay. In the end, I really liked the way this came out. I've sent it off to the photographer for to get a good, really good high resolution. So you know I liked it. And that way, even if these papers do degrade, I will still have a really good image of it, and I could always make prints. So now our yellow is dry. And I just want to get this squared off on one side and across the top. And then the rest of it we'll just deal with. This is why I love deli paper. It is so easy to work with. It doesn't tear. It's like wet strength tissue, at least the one that I use. Not all deli papers are equal. So if you get the ones that have the little, they're like folded in half and like a little pop-up box, almost like a tissue box, I don't like those at all. They're not as transparent. They're just not as easy to work with. They're a little bit cloudy. This paper picks up better. It's just overall better. So I might also get a frame for this that has more of a deeper profile, so it will look nicer. When, you know, in the frame, I think it'll look really nice. So after saying it doesn't tear, it goes and tears, making a liar out of me. And that one wasn't even wet. But if you've worked with wet strength tissue, then you know what I'm talking about. This stuff is pretty durable. So this was another paper that I found the second time around when I went back into the box. And again, we have all those same colors. We have some, you know, nice, bright, organic shapes of red. I just love the way that sort of happened by accident with a comb. And it had, you know, so now we have a lot of this, you know, striped thing going on. So they're not identical, but they are similar. So then I was thinking maybe a tiny strip of that same paper. When I say tiny, I mean like about 1/8 of an inch deep, maybe a little bit more, 1/4 of an inch. So we just see a little bit of that. So I'm just putting the thicker one down and we're just going to go right over it. By this time my fingers have so much glue on them, I'm starting to stick to everything. Not exactly a good practice, but I like to use my fingers to smooth things out. It's not really a great idea. So I have stripes now going in the other direction as well. I just want a little bit of that to peek through. Doesn't have to be a lot. And again, I'm back to this paper. I definitely want to use it there. But then I'm going to have that upper right hand corner, which is now the lower right hand corner, but eventually it'll be the upper right hand corner. And then we're going to have to deal with that. We're going to have to decide what to do there. So I'm feeling like I don't have enough teal. I even like that yellow-green color, which I think we have a little bit of it in that teal strip across the bottom. So don't be afraid to use bright colors with muted colors. I mean, it all, again, trust your eye. But, you know, I have that very grayish, gray-bluish color paper, and I don't know, maybe it's just like a quieter place for the eye to rest, but it seems to work with all of this. Maybe if it didn't have that yellow in there, it wouldn't work. So it was around this time that the air conditioning guy showed up. And, you know, if you saw my video from a couple of weeks ago about the temperature in the room, I was very happy to find out that my landlord was having somebody look at it. And because it has been, I would say, consistently about 78 degrees, sometimes 79 degrees in this room. It's been really warm. And I'm used to working in a much cooler room. So I was interrupted, and but I was very willing to speak to the air conditioning guy. Well, it turns out that my room is attached to the air conditioning in the office next door, which is empty. So the landlord has been keeping the AC running very high because nobody's using that room. So that's why it's been so warm in here. So they are gonna have to come back and run some duct work so that I am actually part of the art collective's air conditioning, and things should improve around here. So I'm really looking forward to that. I was very happy to hear that that was going to get resolved. In the meantime, I did buy some golden open medium that I am going to try to add to my Novacolor paints just to see if it extends the dry time, not too much, but enough. If I can get the right consistency and all of that. And if I do, I will let you know. It might be a good solution for some of you. So as you can see, not all of my papers made it all the way around, but that's not a big deal because you can always patch those, and you know, it'll look fine. And with this particular one, I am thinking of framing it anyway. I just think it'll look better. So then I'm thinking, I wasn't thinking, that's the truth. That's what happens when you get interrupted. You lose your whole idea of what you were doing. Remember that favorite piece that I said I had that I really wanted to use? Well, guess what? I never used it. And I'm thinking I'm finished. And so I was like thinking I wanted to add a little something to that yellow area. So I started looking at some transparent pieces. I did find this one, which was just perfect. But after I had put this piece down, I thought I was finished, and I'm thinking I'm done, you know? I was just going to clean up and be done. Boy, let me tell you, I cannot be interrupted. But I came to my senses just in time, and the final piece does get added in a minute. Okay, so I finally said, wait, where's that piece? Where's that piece that I wanted to use? And it's just perfect for right there. It's a good thing I remembered that, because I'd hate to have that go off to the printer and the photographer and all of that. It needed that, didn't it? Yeah, in my opinion, it needed it. Thank you for stopping by today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed creating it. I was very happy that yesterday when I was working on this, I didn't even let my interruption bother me. I had such a good time. So I'm curious, do you have a box where you keep your scraps? Please leave me a comment below. I'd love to hear how you deal with your scraps. Do you even save them? I save them, obviously. I think a lot of times they are what finishes my pieces, and it's just what I'm looking for. But you have to have the space to do that. A single box, even if it's a shoebox, can really help you save those little tiny pieces or medium-sized pieces. They come in handy. Don't forget to create, inspire, and share, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.